Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability details regarding this watch. Today, we are discussing a foundational watch for Hublot and, frankly, the whole modern era of oversized sports watches. Originally launched, as you see it here, in 2005. This is the long-running Hublot Big Bang Steel Ceramic Original. So it is the original, launched at Basel in 2005. The fruits of Jean-Claude Biver's early efforts running the brand, in which he had recently taken an equity stake and a leadership position. The Big Bang, which pays homage to both the original 1980 MDM Genève Hublot watch as well as the popular Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore, became something of a standard in the late 2000s through the 2010s, a watch that found its way seemingly onto wrists around the world, from football stars to collectors of the big, the brash, and often the boldest of shapes and sizes. And that is exactly the appeal of this watch. It doesn't pretend to be exquisitely handmade or delicately detailed or necessarily something you would describe as haute horlogerie. It is luxury with an attitude, and that is what it does well. It projects an image of raffish, calm, and exuberance. So 44 millimeters in diameter. I have to say that the rated size is actually bigger than my perception of the watch's size. It looks more like a 42 to me. And it's 14.8 millimeters thick, and then from lug tip to lug tip, pretty broad at 55.6 millimeters, but you can see how there's this downward cant of the lugs, how they sort of curve and arc down. Well, that angular downward thrust makes it a lot easier to wear this watch on the wrist. So unlike, for example, an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore 42, which wears more like a 44, this is a 44 that wears more like a 42. And I think from an ergonomic standpoint, that is one area where Hublot got the leg up on AP. Taking a look at how the watch looks down the barrel, you can see it's still large for my wrist. So I'd recommend it for a wrist of my size, 16 centimeters circumference or larger. Because it does use an integrated movement rather than the modular on an offshore of the same time period, it actually isn't as thick as you would think. 14.8 is not bad. It will fit underneath a lot of cuffs, including just about all jacket sleeves. The strap is a famous piece, of course, that original 1980 MDM Genève Hublot, a gold watch with a rubber strap. It was considered to be a bold choice back then to pair a rubber with a luxury watch, and to this day, Hublot loves to talk about fusion. So you have this sort of pyramide pattern, as well as strakes molded into a strap that's quite supple and comfortable. We have a folding clasp. You can see the Hublot H fashion polished screws externally, satin and polish on the buckle, twin trigger release, the chassis internally, satinated and polished with the Hublot H. Strap tucks in, strap buckles in. Strap is contained underneath the remainder of the strap and the clasps. There's no need for minder loops. These are minder loops. This watch doesn't need them. And because of the twin trigger release, you can wear this watch during vigorous activity and it will not fly open. Now, of course, this watch draws heavily on the Royal Oak Offshore that came before it. So we have this large sort of compound construction of different layers tiered from the case back all the way up to the bezel. So case back, lower case profile, we have polymer inserts, we have a large expressed, that is physically prominent, bezel gasket, and then we've got the bezel itself with a pyramide that matches the pattern on the rubber strap, and then on its top it's been polished with more of those H pattern Hublot screws. We have chronograph pushers that include both polish and satin, and then they have little polymer caps, and the watch uses a 7750, so the action is that of a well-tuned high-grade 7750, but we're not quite there yet. One feature I like is that the bezel, being ceramic, is sort of like a heat shield for your watch. It'll take a lot of the blows and stop whatever is about to knock your watch, in most cases, from hitting the metal. So as scratch resistant as ceramic is, that makes the watch more durable. The metal is nicely decorated with polish and satin. You can see that well, including the Hublot screws on the lug hoods, and that is what holds the strap on, so it's a very secure system. The watch does have a push-down crown, but 100-meter water resistance, so it's more water resistant than you might think. There's an Hublot H and a polymer insert on the crown, and then the dial has a embossed carbon fiber style crossweave, but make no mistake, the dial is not made of carbon fiber. We have numerals and indices, which are actually satinated to give them a brushed, muted look, and then we have polished hands, rhodium-plated steel at center with an Hublot counterweight to the red varnished Lancet-style chronograph seconds. We have running seconds, we have semi-instantaneous jumping chronograph minutes, we have chronograph hours. The watch features a hacking or stop seconds function. It also features a quick set mechanism for the date. On the back, Hublot will call this the caliber 4105. It's based on their 4100 architecture, which in turn is basically a high-grade Sellita SW500. Now you can see the splayed spokes that indicate the pairing of a high-grade balance and hairspring. There are 4 grades of Sellita SW500, just as there are 4 grades of its direct inspiration, the Valjoux 7750. When you see those splayed spokes on the balance rather than straight ones, you know that you're getting top or chronometer grade, the top 2. It also uses an Edicron system for beat error adjustment and then fine timing, with ultra-fine adjustments made using an eccentric screw. We also have unidirectional winding, 4 Hz beat rate, 27 pivot joules. We've got a 42-hour power reserve. We've got a cam-based chronograph. You can just see the cam, the hammer, start-stop lever. And then if you look carefully, you can see the clutch spring and the clutch for the oscillating pinion system. And the oscillating pinion, which is sort of hiding right underneath the rotor, makes for a very smooth engagement. It's a type of lateral clutch, but because the oscillating pinion has so little inherent play, you can start the chronograph, press and hold the start trigger, and there's hardly any extraneous movement. That's why the oscillating pinion is probably the most precise and upscale version of lateral clutch, and lo and behold, it's been hiding in plain sight on the 7750 for decades. The cam action 2 deserves mention, as only a handful of high horology column wheel chronographs have a better feeling and sounding action. The watch is loomed, though maybe not extravagantly so. You can see some registers in the hour and minute hands. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability details.